Blog Talk Radio.
The following broadcast is brought to you by the iGolf Sports Network. The Women of Golf show is sponsored by the iGolf Sports Network and Golf Tips magazine. iGolf Sports is a live stream broadcast and media production company providing quality programming designed to attract the golfing enthusiast. And Golf Tips, the game's most in-depth instruction magazine, with insightful reviews on the latest equipment, tips from top teaching professionals, helping you improve your game from tee to green. Good morning. Welcome to the Women of Golf, the #1 women's golf show around the world, with hosts Ted Odorico and Cindy Miller. Join them as they interview some of the best players from the Epson, LPGA, and Legends Tour, and so many others, helping to elevate women's golf. So without further ado, here are your hosts, Ted and Cindy.
All right, good morning, everybody, and once again, welcome to the Women of Golf Show. I'm Ted Odorico, and right alongside, of course, each and every week is none other than Legends Tour player and LPGA professional Cindy Miller, and we, of course, are the hosts of the Women of Golf. Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning, Ted. How are you?
I'm doing very well. What say you?
Nothing. I'm just in the big velo. Gonna help a million people get better today.
Yeah.
No
What's the temp up in Buffalo?
34.
Ooh. Yeah, you need to head back down to Florida. I believe you were saying off air before we went live. You were telling me you're heading back down in a couple of weeks, beginning of April, for another boot camp. So you'll be coming down to sunny Florida once again, right?
I will be. Thank goodness.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll welcome you back a little bit later on. But all right, we've got a great show for you this morning. We're going to be joined here momentarily by a very lovely young lady from the Epson Tour, Sophie Hausmann. And a little bit later on, we're going to be joined by Waitkus. She's a speaker, author, and founder of Golf for Cause, and she's going to be giving us an update on the Marilyn Smith Pro-Am and everything that's been going on coming up here in the next little bit. So she'll be joining us on the second half. But let me just tell you a little bit about our first guest this morning. She started playing golf at the age of 4. Some of her hobbies including skiing, sports in general, and always loved to play soccer and tennis. She claims to be a huge Mickey Mouse fan, and we'll talk to her a little bit about that. Her career victory, she had a win last season. You may recall she joined us on March 30th after she won the 2021 IOA Championship. And her overall 2021 season in a nutshell, she played in 20 events, made 12 cuts, and had three top 10 finishes, including her victory at the IOA. And this past week, she played at the 2022 Carlisle, Arizona Women's Golf Classic, where she finished tied for 5th. So, Cindy, let's welcome our very special guest this morning. Welcome her back, in fact, Sophie Hausmann.
Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
We're glad you're here.
Yeah. Good to be back.
So I have to ask, you're the defending champion this week, aren't you?
That's true. Yes, I am.
Have you ever been a defending champion before?
Just in amateur golf. I thought about this. I'm like, oh, this is something new. And then I'm like, well, you've done it in a college event. But, yeah, I mean, a little different, a little similar. So, yeah, looking forward to it. It's exciting.
Yeah. Why don't you just show them it wasn't a fluke and do it again?
Exactly. I like that.
Like, watch this, girl. I'm here to stay.
That's
All
right.
Ted, go ahead.
Right. Okay, so Sophie, I want to talk about this past week at the Carolina Women's Golf Classic, Arizona Classic, and you started off with the first round. You came out very strong with a 65 to take the early lead. Tell us about that round in general. How were you feeling coming out? Were you pretty confident going into the first round? Obviously, you finished very confident with the 65. But how were you feeling coming in so early in the season? Was your game feeling pretty tight or what?
So I mean, yeah, we only played like one event before and one other event I played in. So it's like early on in the season, you practice a lot in the off season, but now I feel like it's time to see if you can play it on the course and under pressure, under circumstances. So but I do really like going to Arizona. I do like the golf course, and when I got there, I was like, okay, let's check out the greens. I feel like that's usually one of my main things. I kind of can see early on in the week how I like them or not, and things just really fit in that week. And then first round, I mean, I just really told myself, well, give yourself opportunities, because I do feel like, and you could tell by the scores later on, it is a golf course where you have to make birdies. So I'm like, okay, put yourself in a position, but don't force anything, because we all know how that can go. And but sometimes it's harder to do than on other days. And that day I could just really stick to my game plan and to play within myself. And actually, yeah, till the end, I mean, there was a little, 9th, 10th hole. I didn't play it the way I wanted to be, but I'm like, okay, Sophie, it's all good. Just really keep focusing on where you're at right now. And then had a good stretch coming in, and yeah, so it was really fun, of course, but good to see that things are kind of working the way you want. You kind of worked on things, and so yeah, that's always good.
Yeah, and you had as I said, a great start on day one. Day two, you shot a 69. And tied actually for first place with Ingrid Nunes. In fact, you both swapped scores, because she shot a 69 day one to your 65, and then you flipped the script. You shot a 69 day two, and she shot a 65. So that put you in a tie for first. Day three, you hit 70 to actually drop down to fourth, and actually the ultimate winner of the event, Fatima Keno, ended up piecing together a 61 on day three to move into first. So that had to excuse the language, that had to suck a little bit, because she didn't really play great the first couple of rounds. She actually shot, I think the first two rounds she shot 70, which is a good score, don't get me wrong, but when you're hitting 65 and 69 respectively, and then all of a sudden, she drops the proverbial bomb at 61 on the final day to basically capture the win. But I want to move to day four, because there's some interesting things I noticed. I looked at the scores throughout. So on day four, you started off with 3 birdies on the front. So you had a great start. You had another birdie on the back, but you made 3 bogeys, beginning with hole number 10. I think you parred number 11, and then 12 and 13, you got 2 more bogeys before you ended up coming into the final stretch. So what do you think in your mind? So you obviously had a great first few rounds. You had a great start to the fourth round. What do you think as you reflect back now, what do you think happened in the back 9? Were the holes just a little tougher, the pin placements? What happened on those 3 holes?
I mean, in general, I feel like even the second and third rounds, I was always playing pretty well the front 9, and then I told my coach later, I'm like, I felt like I didn't get a game plan for the 10th hole. I played a 3 overall, like made 3 bogeys. And that's kind of, and then on 12, I just hit the drive left into net and unplayable. But I told her, like, I don't really, because, like, especially for the final round, I'm like, it's another round where if you go low or shoot a score, it's great. But really, this again, like, play within yourself, because that's kind of what I sometimes try to do when I see the leaderboard, and I'm try to catch the leader instead of maybe saying, okay, let's see what you can shoot today and go from there. So I didn't really feel like I put a X amount of pressure on me, because like even leaderboards, they are on 9 and then they don't really come up till 15, 16. So I'm like, it's maybe good because you play and then you kind of see. So I feel like really 10 and 12, it was just 2 bad golf shots that I hit maybe at the time where you think, okay, she wasn't focused or was nervous, but it was like I still couldn't get the or put the pieces together for a good round, I wouldn't really say it's a loss of concentration there. So, but it kind of sucked because it was always this whole 10 to 15. I'm like, Sophie, there's something moving on. I don't know if it's early in the season and you kind of maybe do lose a little bit of, concentration that you don't get aware of or just get a little bit tired. But you definitely have to figure it out for the next 2 events, because it does cost you a stroke. And I was like, when I was on my way to Beaumont, I did check the payout for the week, and then I saw this one shot, and I was like, oh no, that was costly. But it costs
you money. Yeah, it costs you money. Even a shot or two can make a big difference. So when you look at your overall play, obviously you played very solid throughout the week. I mean, you played some. Again, you came in as the leader on day one. You tied day two, of course, but and you continued to play solidly. Where were you on the front nine? At some point you were able to see a leaderboard before you hit number 10. Where were you positioned at that point? Where were you sitting? Were you, number 2, 3? Were you still at number 4 from the day before? Where were you sitting at by the time you made the turn?
In the final round or in the sorry?
Yes, final round. Sorry, yes.
Final round, taking the turn. I think. Well, I took the turn at 15, and I think Fatih was still at 15 then. So I think it was tight for the lead, but I knew she would play 9th hole, and I'm like 9 is like a fairly good birdie, even eagle chance. So and then also with those par 5s coming up, I was like, okay, there's still a lot of golf left, but I think it was tight for the lead, maybe 2nd.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm not 100%.
So you were definitely knocking at the door coming in on that final round.
Yes.
Until those
Mm-hmm.
those 3 holes came up and kind of bit you. Yeah, that's when it really, I think, Cindy, would you agree? I mean, from a mental standpoint, when you're coming in, you're sort of going that close with in the lead. Again, whether it's 1 or 2 or even 3, and then suddenly you string a few holes that just don't go your way, that can play a little bit on the mind too. Would you agree? And then go ahead if you have questions.
Well, of course, absolutely. But let me ask you this. Why was this course so easy to score on? Because the Marilyn Smith Pro-Am is going to be there, and there's a senior tour coming up, and I'm going to play in this event with Kitty Robine, so I need to know a little bit about the course. Why was it so easy to score?
Well, I feel like compared to the last 2 years, it was less windy. So that's definitely a point. And the par 5, good opportunities. Like some of them are like reachable into, so that just, gives you a chance. And then even if you lay up, I feel like the wedge shot is a shot where you can maybe make an up and down with. So I feel like those 4 par 5s over 4 days just give you like 16 opportunities right there. And then the greens were just, I really liked them. They were rolling very true. There were a few pitch marks, like not as crispy as they have been sometimes in the past. Like I think 2 years ago we played it in like the summertime, so it was a little more crispy. So I just felt like they were really rolling the way you kind of wanted it to. And pins were fair. I wouldn't say overly easy, but like just in a good spot. And I feel like if you can see the putts going in, it just, it gives you a lot of opportunities. It doesn't play overly long. Like even the par 4s, they give you some wedges. So, I
like that.
It's one of those.
Yeah, right. So, yeah. So here's the good news. You're playing really well.
Mm-hmm.
What is and you have to be patient, right? Because you can't try to win, because everybody would win every week if that was the case.
Yeah.
Why are you playing so consistently well, and what are you doing to make that happen? I kind of reset myself this season from kind of learning a lot from last season, because last season I felt like I got really caught up in the ranking, and I think that was the 101 mistake you can do out there.
And so for this season, I was really like, Sophie, things you work on, which these days are mainly my wedges and putting, because I just feel like I can save the most strokes right there, and just kind of trust that you're working on the right things and that you can apply them on the course, and then even out on the course to don't be too hard on yourself, because I can get that sometimes. So I'm like, just even if it's post-shot routine, maybe handling the emotions a little better, highs and lows. That's another thing I really work on, and I do believe if I can get better at that, and have it more stable, that it will be a very consistent season, and even with more to come. So looking forward to it. And on the other hand, it's I feel like, especially this time of the year, you kind of, I mean, you probably know better, but you worked all the off season long, and now you're like, okay, I want to get out and compete. I want to see if it works out. I want to get out there again, and I feel like also this energy really helps if you can bring this on the course, or at least in your mind. So
Absolutely. Ted?
So, Sophie, let me ask you just some general questions about your game. Do you have a favorite club in the bag? And what about a go-to shot? Is there also a go-to shot in the bag, excuse me?
It's definitely the driver. No, I like that one. And on the other hand, it's not really a go-to shot, but I feel like with a driver and also with the irons, I can kind of rely on 3/4 shots, just hitting the fairway. Sometimes that's what I actually did in longbow a lot. Like, yeah, you can hit the 3-wood, but I was like, you know what, just tee it up and get it in the fairway, or like now you really have to hit it high and further. So I feel like just the variation of it, I feel like that's what makes it fun to practice with, but also I feel like that's kind of a nice thing to see on the course. At the end of the day, I do have a tendency of a draw, though, so I feel like I can, especially in my iron game, I can rely on that, and that's just a good thing to know. So, yeah.
What you mentioned, I think, if I remember correctly, I think you said on hole 12 you pulled it left on the back nine of this last weekend. So what is your tendency when you hit a bad shot? Is it tend to be a pull because you are more consistently a drawer of the ball as opposed to a fader of the ball? Is that sort of your, I won't say your bad shot, but is that your tendency when it doesn't come off the way you want? Is that typically what happens, is it ends up being a pull, or is there something else?
Most of the time, definitely, because I either get a little quick or just use my hands last second, and that's one of those. The other option is definitely if it's those days where I don't really go through, it's just high right, but definitely a club face thing. But other than that, the pull is the one I do see once in a while when you don't want to see it.
And that's typically the better players tend to do that. They get a little quick with the hands and either hook it or pull it to the left. So let me ask you, maybe you could give a little tip to our audience. Obviously, the better players on tour like yourself and, of course, Cindy, have a very solid pre-shot routine, which is something that's very inconsistent with a lot of amateur players. They're 1 minute they're maybe waggling their club a couple times, the next minute they're doing something different. They're never very consistent. Obviously, I would assume you have a very consistent pre-shot routine. But what do you think about when you're standing over the ball and you're ready to shoot? Because that's something too. A lot of amateur players have a million things running through their minds, and they don't have. Do you have one swing thought that you focus on when you're ready to when you've addressed the ball and you're ready to pull the trigger, as it were? Is there one swing thought, or what is your thought process?
It kind of starts all with the preparation, like what club do I want to hit, wind, and so ever. But that's one of the big things I also kind of learned with the time, because that's the thing, like, if I plan to hit it, like, let's say, right of the flag a little bit because of whatever factor, the last second was always like, ooh, do I have to adjust it? But this thing, like, really, no, that's what you planned on, and now you have to execute it. So it's more like a trust yourself thought instead of, and like, now it's time to hit it, instead of really like doubting it, or like, I don't have many technical things in the last minute. I mean, that maybe sometimes depends on week to week. If I do maybe have a tendency and struggle with one thing, I might say, okay, just kind of have the hands a little more palmar or something. But most of the time it's also like rhythm, just, especially if it's maybe a little in contention or I do get a little nervous, then I'm like, okay, just keep the rhythm or the tempo, call it whatever. So that's one I have most of the time. The final thought. Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of players, as I said, a lot of I'm talking about our amateur players, and I'm sure you see, seen them in pro-ams and that, and they're all over the place. There's no consistency in how they address the ball. There's no consistency in how they play the round, and their thought process is literally all over the map, and that's why they tend not to improve. So if you were, let's say, coach for a day with a group of students, what would be your overlying message to them? What would you say to them? Because, again, obviously they're all different swings and things like that. So, obviously there's those things to factor in. But what would your overall message be at the end of the session? What would you want to instill on them to help them moving forward? What would the message be overall?
I mean, it's also one thing of those amateurs, like the practice things. So I feel like sometimes just because they just get so many few reps and then we do, and then they expect to hit the perfect shot. And I think it's more like to like really accept what you have in your bag and what you can play with. And that's the thing, because this one guy would probably either curve to the left or other one hit it high, and like kind of accept this and play with it, especially if you're out there. You can work on other things on the range, but I feel like really, play with what you have out there, and then at the end of the day to accept it and trust it. I mean, maybe they are still a little like, how should I trust this? But I think it's just another trust in their game. It might be a little less consistent than ours is, but at the end of the day, I feel like if they can see the shots and trust that, I think that just helps a lot.
Yeah, and I think you're exactly right. I think whatever game you have that particular day, that's what you have to play with. Too many amateurs get out in the golf course, they start tinkering around with their grip, and they start, trying to adjust their alignment and all kinds of things, and ultimately ends up making the matters worse. So I agree. I think you have to trust with what you brought that game, or the game that you brought that day, and then after or the next time you're on a practice session, then you can work out some of the kinks and the bugs then, but don't do it out on the golf course while you're playing. Some great advice. Yeah, some great advice, Sophie. Cindy, go ahead.
What do you do to quiet the voice of caution? You know how you said you're standing over the shot, you're ready to go, and then all of a sudden a little, whoop, I call it my Cynthia, my evil twin who's trying to protect me when I'm ready to pursue. So how do you handle that?
Oh, that's a good thing. I kind of start accepting it, like, it's there, or like not accepting it, but being aware of it, that it's there. And then I'm like, but it doesn't help you. So at the end of the day, I feel like, especially if I don't have a caddy, I'm like, you really need to be your best friend out there, So it's great to have maybe this little voice coming up, but I'm like, no, you're not going to win this time. So I really so I just really like, well, you figure you kind of calculated the shot as much you can do. So even if somebody up there says no, I really just try to be like, no, from a more like rational point. I did it all the way, so now I can show that it works, kind of, like trying to talk against it or with it, kind of like not like, okay, like to ignore it. I feel like I do see that it's there, and but just try not to give it too much attention or kind of try to prove it's wrong sometimes. So yeah, and I think that's just one of the things, like, really where you're like, okay, be supportive of yourself. You know, it's a long day out there. So yeah.
Yeah, I typically tell her, I'm busy hitting a shot. I'll talk to you in a minute.
Oh, that's a good one. That is a really good one.
Because you got to have the right voice being the loudest.
Yeah. I agree.
Anyway, what do you like best about the life you've chosen?
What I like best about the life on tour?
Yeah.
I think the traveling. It's one of those things you just see so many different people. That's great. You're kind of independent. It's not like you live at this one spot and you know, kind of get sick of it after a while. I feel like I'm still at this point where I'm like, you know, I haven't decided where I want to live later on. I think that's one of the ones up there. But I also think to do it every week in and out and competing, really, I feel like it's just, because even after a bad week, I kind of go back and like, okay, those are the things I need to work on. Didn't go well this week, but I would never trade it with a different job. I'm like, that's exactly what you want to do. And I feel like kind of knowing that definitely helps. And yeah, you just have different things going on every week, you know, like even if it's like, yeah, you play golf every week, but the game feels different every week, every day. So I think that's a fun challenge. So yeah, those are pretty much the main three things.
That's great. Ted?
So Sophie, just as we get ready to wrap up with you, you're, as Cindy had mentioned at the beginning, you're getting ready to play in the IOA again to challenge your last season. What are you going to do going into this round, into this tournament? What's your thought process coming in? You had a very good last week and play a lot of great rounds. What's your thought process coming into this week as you defend?
I mean, I really kind of got to feel the feel of excitement, I would say. Like, you know, there was a time where you can think about this either way, but I'm like, Sophie, it's something fun to do, you know, and it will be probably a little different that week, you know. You kind of like see a couple pictures or this and this, but that's pretty cool, you know. And I feel like at the end of the day, that's why we do it. So, but on the other hand, I do know it was last year, so take the good memories with it. But this year, it's a new tournament, so that's why I kind of feel like, okay, try to pay attention that you maybe get your little downtime moments as well, and don't, you know, get too crazy about everything. But other than that, I'm like, yeah, I do play my practice round as any other tournament. I do prepare and practice for it. So and last week was a good week, so I definitely think I can take some confidence going into it. But I mean, it's a new event, so we'll go from there. So nothing, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great attitude to go into this week's event. Well, good luck, Sophie. And if you manage to win, we'll hopefully see you back here next Tuesday as we bring the winners forward. So yeah, so get out there and win it. We want to continue this conversation with you. So go and win it, and most importantly, have fun. We appreciate you taking time with us this morning, and good luck at this week's event.
Thank you. Thanks, Dad. Thanks, Cindy. Have a good one. And
good luck, honey. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thanks. Bye. Bye.
All right, Sophie Hausmann from the Epson Tour. She's defending her title at the IOA Championship this week, and I think she's going to do very well. She's a very strong player, very down to earth, and I think she's most importantly going to have a lot of fun. So, all right, we're going to take a real fast break to hear this message from Golf Tips Magazine, and then we will bring Debbie out and talk with her about the upcoming Marilyn Smith Pro-Am.
The following ad is sponsored by Golf Tips Magazine.
Are you tired of being short off the tee? And what about those 3 putts? Forget about it. It's time you got serious about your game. Golf Tips, the most in-depth magazine in the industry. For over 30 years, Golf Tips has delivered expert content such as the latest golf instruction from America's top pros, simple-to-follow practice and game improvement drills, fitness and mental game tips, equipment, training aids, accessory and apparel reviews, golf destinations and travel tips for every budget, and so much more. Don't miss a single issue. Go to golftipsmag.com and subscribe today.
All right, welcome back. I told you it was going to be quick. All right, we're excited to have our next guest, Debbie Waitkus. She's been on a number of times over the years. We're always happy to have her. And she's passionate about golf, particularly how it positively impacts people personally and professionally. She founded her business Golf for Cause in 2000, which was designed to empower businesswomen through golf. She also wrote a book entitled Get Your Golf On, and sits on the board of the First Tee of Phoenix and Women in the Golf Industry. But she's most proud of her work with the LPGA co-founder and World Golf Hall of Fame member Marilyn Smith as confidant and co-tournament director of her annual Pro-Am. Since Marilyn's passing, she co-founded the Marilyn Smith and Founders Legacy Foundation to forward the spirit and legacies of the trail-blazing LPGA founders and pioneers. So, Cindy, let's welcome back Debbie Waitkus.
Good morning.
Good morning, Cindy. Good morning, Ted. How are you?
We're great. Fantastic. How are you?
I'm well. And, Cindy, I'm excited to hear that you're going to play in the senior event.
Yes, I am.
I'm
awesome. Excited to come.
Well, I'm sure we'll order up some good weather for you.
Good. Don't make it too hot, though, will you?
Yeah, well, we'll go for those early morning starts.
Okay, good.
But it was
ahead.
Nice listening. It was nice listening to you and Sophie chat a little bit about the course. I've played Longbow numerous times, and I'm happy to talk with you offline about some strategy. So you'll do just fine. It's a great track.
Awesome. I can't wait. Thank you. So tell us what's going on.
Well, we have a lot going on, and as you both know, I've worked passionately with Marilyn for her Pro-Am, which funds her scholarship fund, and in 2018 we made the decision, in pretty much for a succession planning strategy, if you will, to link her Pro-Am with Founders Cup. And so the first one with that to happen was in 2020. So from the fall of 2018, when we were holding her Pro-Am, it didn't make any sense to turn around and do a Pro-Am in March of 2019 and do those asks. So we had about a year and a half, if you will, to gear up for this big event with being a big girl event, if you will, with a tour event. And sadly, Marilyn passed in the midst of that planning session. And then when we had the first one in 2020, 2 days prior to the event, it was canceled due to COVID. So we've had this hiatus now of 4 years. It's a bit of a vacuum. So we're really excited to bring back her Pro-Am. We did do virtual Sunday tees in the midst of COVID, and the Sunday tee has really been more of a meet and greet. We have so many people who come in from around the country to play in the Pro-Am, and when you go to play in a golf tournament that you see the people that you're with and maybe a quick passing with some of the others during the reception times, but not really a quality visit. So we added the Sunday tee in advance to be a meet and greet, and we've always had someone interview the marquee players who were participating. And typically it's been Ron Cyrack and Bill Huffman, and this year it will be Bill Huffman. But it was more than just the interviews, but also really a love fest for the community. We opened the Sunday Tea up to anyone who wants to attend and really get a taste of what the feeling is and the education and the ability to interact with these ladies. And also we have an expo and an auction, and we serve food and beverage, and tea. But it's the ability to bring a junior and have a junior get a taste of what these trailblazing women did, and maybe humble them a little bit, but they can talk with them about their swings, their favorite clubs, and things along those lines. So really a bit of a love fest. And Marilyn Smith and Shirley Spork had always done book signings as well. So we're excited to have that come back to our Valley live, as well as adding the Pro-Am again too.
That's great. That's great. Now, how do you fill the Pro-Am?
How do we fill the Pro-Am?
Yeah. Are people coming in from out of town? Is it all local people?
It's both. It's local people and people from out of town. We've had a really nice following over the years. I mean, look at Marilyn made everybody her friend, and she delivered thousands of clinics all around the country, well, all around the world, actually. And because of her nature of really welcoming people in, she attracted this following of people. When she had her Pro-Am, people came. And so we have folks coming from, I want to say, Colorado, the Midwest, Texas, California, obviously Arizona. I'm not sure if we've got anyone from the far East Coast yet who's signed up to play. But sometimes it's a pro that comes and brings a team, and sometimes it's just the team that comes and gets matched up with someone or has their favorite pro that, can I play with her again? So, and I know, Kitty Robide's coming from California, and there's a group that likes to play with her. So I've reached out to let them know that she's coming so that they should get registered.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's really very respectful and joyous, and a big love fest, if you will, in honoring the history and learning more about the history of what these ladies accomplished.
Debbie Marilyn has done so much in her career, not just as a player, but giving back so much. And maybe for those that are tuning in for the first time that aren't familiar with her scholarship fund, maybe you could just give us a little bit of a description of what it is and how it works and some of the things that she's done to give back for all of the Go ahead.
Happily. So Marilyn, think about this. The LPGA was founded in 1950. And where were girls in 1950? They were more of the June Cleaver. They were being trained to be June Cleavers, as far as being homemakers. And the opportunities for girls and for women weren't the same as they are now. And now things are getting better. They're certainly not perfect, if you will, with respect to parity and whatnot. But it was pretty unusual for a girl, number one, to be an athlete and to be nurtured as an athlete. And when Marilyn was playing golf and playing collegiately, it was difficult to get money to play in intercollegiate tournaments. And when her father had asked as her advocate for support, he was told, "I'm sorry, Mr. Smith, that your daughter is not your son, because otherwise there'd be money for her." And that sat with her. And I think as she tasted some success on tour, and not only with her playing, as you had mentioned, Ted, but also that drive inside of how can I make a difference? And Marilyn never really asked permission. She was one of those that would ask forgiveness, if you will, and she started a lot of things. She figured, let's give it a go and let's see if this works. And so she started in 1999 a scholarship fund to send young women to college, girls who are incoming freshmen, so graduating seniors. And the fund right now is administered through the LPGA Foundation. There is an application process that opens in the late fall and then closes, I want to say, typically on January 31st, and then a selection process happens. And the girls receive money to go to school. And sometimes, the girls who are going to a D1 school are often, they've got a full ride. The stellar ones that we see and read about all the time. This money will typically get a young lady to a college that she really wants to go to. So think about this. If you are the star athlete and you have an opportunity to get a scholarship, Marilyn's vision was, why not let that money get you to somewhere other than your state school? Why not get an education at an institution that will give you a really good education and get you somewhere where you want to be, and branch out. You'll have, when you get to college, you'll have, because you're on this team, you've got this community already. You've got this group of friends. Golf opens doors for you. Her vision was that it wasn't necessarily to help someone become the next tour player, although a good example of not of that, I guess you could say, is Caroline Inglis, and she just played in the Epson Tour event down in here in Mesa this past week. She's a Marilyn Smith Scholarship recipient. Mostly it's these girls who, to give them a leg up, and so they can get an education, they have a community, they can have a career. Golf opens doors, and that's what Marilyn had experienced. And as the mom for everybody, she wanted everyone to have that same opportunity. So that was kind of the impetus with the scholarship. And one of the things I should tell you, since her passing, we gathered the scholarship recipients with whom we had contact information from, because some of them, since it's 1999, we don't really have the info anymore. And now we've tried to stay in touch with them. But we did a Zoom with them. We've done some surveying, and they gave themselves a name instead of the mouthful of Marilyn Smith Scholarship recipient. And they named themselves Marilyn's Pearls. And for those who don't know, Marilyn always wore pearls she always wore pearls. When she played, she just always wore them, and dressed as a movie star, if you will. And so they've named themselves Marilyn's Pearls. And so we have a collection of pearls now. And with our new foundation, we actually have a pearl on our board, which is quite lovely. But the scholarship, I mean, it's a big deal. And sometimes it's not just the money, but it's that sense of that there's someone who believes in me. There's someone who takes an interest. And those who had the benefit of being a pearl while Marilyn was still alive, they pretty much became pen pals. Marilyn wrote to all of them and stayed in touch with all of them, which is really, really quite amazing. There are over 200 young ladies who have received scholarships, and in the amount of over $1 million is what's been awarded, which is just amazing.
Yeah, and there's going to be another 8 scholarships awarded at $5,000 each for this year, correct?
That's correct. And while Marilyn was still alive, we were up to 30 a year. In her passing, the amount dropped to 5. And with our new foundation for this year, we've added on an additional 3. So hopefully we'll get more. The goal with the Pro-Am that's coming up is that will fund an additional 15 scholarships as well, so that we'll start getting back to near that number of 30 and perhaps blow that out of the water and do even more. You never know.
Right, exactly.
Well,
and I think it's and I think it's fantastic too that the fact that it's not just going towards, and that doesn't mean that they're excluded, but going towards women who necessarily have tour aspirations. It's for obviously you can tell that Marilyn was very somebody that believed in a good education for that foundation. And so obviously, somebody may navigate those waters and become a tour player, but it's not a prerequisite for, earning this scholarship. So I think it's fantastic. And I like the Marilyn's Pearls. I think that's great. So tell us about the Marilyn Smith and Founders Legacy Foundation. Tell us a little bit more about that. What are some of the aspects of it?
Well, there were several of us who are like-minded souls that are really have been touched and moved with what the founders have done in order to create this tour that is I believe it's the longest women's sports organization that it currently exists in the world, and the skill sets that they had to leverage when women weren't even considered to have skill sets beyond homemakers, right? What they did to actually build a tour. And I think we've been fortunate, many of us, to actually have personal relationships with some of the founders. And so we came together and started this foundation. In fact, Shirley Spork is a founding member of the organization as well. And Shirley, for those who don't know, is another one of the LPGA founders. And she will be 95 in May this year. But the idea was, number one, we've got Marilyn's memorabilia, right? So how can we purpose that for educational purposes, to use that for others to learn about who these women were and what they did and why they're important. So our memorabilia project, if you will, Shirley has this vision of us having a large vehicle, some sort of a truck of some sort that can be driven around to various locations, whether they are NCAA events, different places that we can set up and have a physical museum, a display. So that's one of the things that we're looking at doing. But we're in the process of inventorying items and getting the stories behind them. Shirley has bequeathed some of her items as well. So we've been recording her talking about them. So because something could be, this box or this frame, but you don't know the significance of it until you hear the story behind it. We're adding a little bit of technology to that as well, using QR codes to go deeper in order to tell those stories so that you can actually click on that and then learn more about what the heck you're looking at. So we've got that project as far as one of the aspects of the foundation. And then we also have the Pearls as a community. We've gathered them together, as I mentioned, and they've become their own mentorship community, and not just for each other, but and if you think about this, since it started in 1999, these women are at all different phases. They've gone through the aspects of playing, competing, and what it's like in the business world, what it's like to be a woman in the business world, the choices that they're making, so that they can rely on each other and have each other to as a sisterhood, if you will, as a sounding board or a safe place. And then also they are there for young women who want to play collegiate golf, who want to pursue a career in golf, so that they have someone to connect with as well and have a mentor, someone to get advice from. So we're nurturing that community as well, and just connecting them. They've never been connected together before, so it's really been lovely, lovely, lovely to see as that's evolving. And then the third aspect. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ted.
No. I was just going to say. I was just going to mention about that as well. I want you to definitely talk about that.
About the third aspect, which is
yes.
fundraising.
Yes.
Because any foundation, I mean, at the heart of it, if you're not a fundraising organization, you're going to die on the vine. You need to have money coming in, right? Like as any business would. But continuing Maryland's Pro-Am, which has been the cornerstone of the fundraising component for the scholarship fund. But also we've had some other things that have transpired with, for example, Carla Glasgow was the first that did this, actually, where she is a former tour player, LPGA teaching professional in Oregon, and the member guest event that her club was doing, she said, can we honor Marilyn in some way or do something for the founders? And so we strategized and did some things so that the ladies at the club could actually learn more about the founders, as well as adding a fundraising component. We did the same thing at the College and River Club with one of the members who I'm fortunate to know through Golf Week magazine. She wanted to do something with their member guests to educate and have them. She always sees me as so passionate about the founders. She's like, I want to learn more. How can I help make that happen for others too? So they honored the founders at their tournament. So we've got just trying to do some outreach around the country in different clubs to educate and create some awareness about the women and what they did and those skill sets and how to nurture them in others and keep them relevant. So that's another component. And in our market here in Arizona, Tori Totlis just did a huge women's event where people came in from around the country, and that became a fundraiser also for the Marilyn Smith and Founders Legacy Foundation. And I'm happy to say I'm picking up a check from Tori this morning after we're done on the air here. So, but I think these are all little tentacles that we have to be able to create some awareness. And what I'd like to do is share just a little story just to kind of hit home a little bit about what I'm talking about with the skill set of the founders. And, if you think about any of the marketing that you do for your businesses, Marilyn struck up a relationship with a gentleman by the name of Tom Quinlan. And Tom was the CEO of R.R. Donnelly. And if you remember, R.R. Donnelly was the very first sponsor of the Founders Cup here in Arizona, when the players played for no money except for the points for the race to the globe for the CME, if you remember that. And probably about 12, 13 years ago. So I because Marilyn, once you become a friend, never lets go. Tom's been a good friend, so I've stayed in touch with him. And this past summer, when I was on the East Coast in New York, he and I went to lunch, and I asked him, how did this ever come to be? I mean, how did you, a company that has never done any sort of sponsorship, never had a commercial on television, how did this how did it come about? And he said that his COO was really good friends with then Commissioner Mike Wan, and so he figured they'd go and hear what he had to say, and they'd meet. Well, over this meal, Mike had brought Marilyn Smith with him, and the four of them are having, whether it was lunch or dinner, and Marilyn leaned over to Tom and said, "Sir, I see that you're left-handed, just like Ben Hogan." And Tom said for him, that was it. His name and Ben Hogan's name in the same sentence. He said, "Where do I sign?" Right?
Wow.
So the ability to always be creatively spinning something to empower others and endear them and lift them up is a trait that moves mountains. And Marilyn had that and leveraged that constantly. And look, the Founders Cup tournament evolved out of that. And if Mike would have taken her to everything, there might have been even more.
Right.
But that's what they did, and that's one of those traits that's important, especially for entrepreneurs or for anyone in a sales position or owning a company, to think about that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've got to be definitely very observant for sure. And I'm going to throw this out there. By the way, I'm left-handed too, so I'm in good company.
Oh, you and Ben Hogan, Ted? Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
just
there
like
you
Mr.
go.
Hogan.
That's right. So, Debbie, tell us, just refresh everybody's memory. When does the tournament take place? Where can they go to get information? And if they want to donate or what have you, give us all the information that they need to go and website and so forth.
You bet. So I'll tell you the website first. It's the azgolf.org, which is the AGA website, azgolf.org. And you should be able to find it from there, but if you want to add the extension, it's AZ Women's Open. So azgolf.org/AZ Women's Open. And that has everything on there. The Sunday Tea, which will be at Papago, where you can sign up for that. We hope people will sign up because we need to know how much food to provide. And what listeners should know is that, let's see, Kathy Whitworth will be there. Susie Burning will be there. She was just inducted into the World Golf Hall of Fame earlier this month. She's the participating honoree this year. Sandra Palmer will be there. Danielle and Dina Amakapani. The first three women Bill will be interviewing, but there'll be a lot of the gals will be there. And in the Pro-Am, all those five same ladies are playing, along with Pat Bradley is playing as well. So there are some wonderful, wonderful special guests and LPGA stars who will be joining in the Pro-Am. The Pro-Am will take place at Longbow on May 2nd. It'll be a morning shotgun, which is important when it's warm weather here in Arizona. And we will we'll have some on-course activities, and you play as a scramble along with the pro, so there'll be 4 amateurs along with the pro. We have a max of 30 teams, and then we'll have a lovely reception after the event as well, and breakfast and luncheon and some food on the course and yada, yada, yada. So a wonderful, wonderful track. Oh, I should mention also that both at the at Papago Golf Club, where the Sunday Tea will be, and at Longbow, all the display cases are going to be replaced with memorabilia. And so for those who want to get a taste of using the QR codes to learn more about some of the items, that will be in play. And the items will be there for longer than just the days of the events. They'll be there for up to a month. We're finalizing those details now. So we're pretty excited about having the memorabilia displays. We're going to have one at Papago in their large case of a fashion-forward theme, if you will, because right now they have Bad Birdie in there, and so it's always been the fashion case. So we'll have some things of some clothes of Marilyn and Shirley's and Sandra Palmer, who is always the wild dresser. We'll have some fun things there. Oh, and Sandra Palmer will be there as well, if I didn't mention Sandra's name.
Perfect.
So we're pretty jazzed.
Well, that's fantastic, and we're sure it's going to be a great event, and we encourage everyone to visit the website to learn more. It's azgolf.org/azwomen'sopen. You can get all the information there and include how to participate if you choose, or maybe how you can help out the foundation as well. Debbie, as always, thank you very much for joining Cindy and I this morning, and I know Cindy's going to be looking for some inside scoop on Longbow, so you guys will have to connect at some point off air as well. But thank you very much for joining us, and keep up the great work.
Well, you too, Ted, and thank you so much for sharing the message, sharing the passion, and for all that you do. And thanks, Cindy, and yes, we'll talk offline.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Debbie. All right. Bye-bye. All right, Debbie Waitkus, helping to head up the next Maryland Smith Pro-Am coming up in a little over a month's time. So make sure you visit that website to, again, learn more information. All right, Cindy, that's it. Another show. And I know you mentioned you're going to be heading down in the next couple of weeks to Orange County again to do another boot camp, right?
You got it.
All right, we'll work them hard. All right, on behalf of Cindy Miller, I'm Ted Odorico. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning on the Women of Golf. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye. Thanks, Cindy.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed listening to this week's Women of Golf show. Ted and Cindy wish to thank this week's special guests. Remember to join them every Tuesday from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern here on the iGolf Sports Network or on any of these social media platforms, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, CastBox, TalkStream Live, and of course Spotify. To get updates on the show, you can follow the Women of Golf's Facebook page at www.facebook.com/Women of Golf. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.